What's up, everybody, and welcome to Last Hit, an LCS podcast, episode 2 with Dash and Artemis. Just baited maybe thousands of people who follow this channel.
You sent an email to thousands of people. Thank you to your Twitch stream going live for half a second.
Yeah, misclicked the start streaming button instead of start
good.
recording.
It happens.
So apologies for those of you who may have just been inundated with emails. But either way, we're going to dive into it this week. Artemis, how you doing, man? What's been going on since I saw you last on, I guess, Friday?
Dude, doing good. So my coaching business been spinning up, as you know.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I just have my first few clients.
Sweet. How's that going?
Dude, it's actually been a lot of fun. Like, it's way different than coaching at the pro level, because at the pro level, you're like watching them play and you're like really like trying to figure out what they're doing wrong and how you can like optimize it. And now it's like there's so much we can do.
Right.
Like, I'm looking at, there's like I see like everything. There's I can start anywhere. So it's a new problem to have like so much to teach that you don't know where to start versus really struggling to find something. So it's been cool. It's been cool.
If you don't mind me asking, what is the range right now of rank or elo that you have with students that you're working with?
So we got a guy who's like D1, like master tier.
Okay. So somebody who's really trying. Is his goal looking to go pro?
He's really committed to the game. He's passionate, try hard. He's been grinding for a few years now.
Sweet.
And yeah, he ultimately wants to go pro. And then the other guy is a bit more casual than that. He's like D4, I think, right now.
Okay.
But, yeah, dude, it's been a lot of fun.
Sweet.
And I still have openings for a couple more people. So if you're interested, check out my Twitter, check out my website.
There it is.
And yeah, what about you?
Those things will be linked as well in the description, so check those out. It'll make it really easy. Myself.
What's new?
Well, I don't have a new coaching business to tell you all about, but no, I just went home this weekend for a day for my mom's birthday to celebrate. So it was nice to see family, and I got to see my dad's band play.
Oh, nice.
Which is always fun as well. And so yeah, it was a good time seeing family, but honestly, not a ton else to update people on. So
Life goes on.
So week 3,
another week of LCS.
LCS. Let's get into it. Last week for the episode, we kind of went through the results of the previous week of the LCS to talk about each of the teams, and then went on to predict the matchups for the following week. This week, I think what we're going to do is just go through the upcoming matchups, discuss those matchups, and in doing so, reflect a bit on their performance from week 2. But more so, I want to start kind of delving into things we like about teams, either play style or, drafting, certain tendencies that teams have. Talk about what we like, what we don't like, what we want to see, what we don't want to see within each of these matchups to see teams start making movement in the standings. So we're going to dive straight in. I love it. This is a banger of a matchup organizationally. It's TSM Cloud9.
Yeah,
first game
week
on
3
Thursday.
Week 3 is crazy. For the head-to-head matchups we have in week 3, it's pretty crazy. TSM Cloud9, that's going to be interesting because it's like for me, like I was really trying to ride the TSM hype all the way through week 2.
Well, you went for the 4-0, man.
I was really feeling it after their week 1, and it wasn't so much a logic thing. It was more of a passion thing,
Sure.
And I was hyped for TSM, man, but I will say that their gameplay in week 2 left a lot to be desired, and I'm wondering if they're just a straight up pretender at this point.
Oh wow, what a flip, man. That is like that is a categorical 180-degree flip there from. I mean, and to be honest, that's what they did. They went 2-0 to 0-2, so they kind of 180'd in their results. I'm trying to think about how I really felt about their matchups this week. I mean, it kind of left me uninspired, I guess would be the best way to describe it. But maybe that's where. So for me, it kind of just reduces me back to a middle ground. I'm not so like doomer, like, put them right back in 9th, 10th where they were predicted,
Right, okay, sure.
But I do think they absolutely fell back down to earth from, being in that 2-0 group, right?
Yeah.
And so right now, tied for 5th with CLG, Team Liquid Honda, like in my head, they still are a bottom 4 team. Like when I think about my end of split rankings,
because they're tied with teams like, or not tied, but they're right neck and neck with teams like 100 Thieves right now, who they lost to handily on their day 2. So
yeah, TSM had a rough week, and
they
the idea that they're kicking off with Cloud9, I think that, if anything, is going to make me the most doomer on them, right? You know, like your recovery, you know, from an 0-2 week kicks off against Cloud9, which I think is a very unlikely game for you to win.
Yeah. Looking at the gameplay we saw, it's going to be tough, but there is a little glimmer of hope because when we were watching the C9 games this weekend, we really hated their drafts.
Oh, their drafts were so bad.
Yeah, even in their win on day 1, we were like, can we stop picking Fiora? It was like I think they had the Callista support with the Fiora top, and you know, maybe these things could work. Like it worked on one day, and then you know, I don't know if it's going to keep working, and I don't know if it's going to work against the best teams in the league. So I'm not sure if it's a strategy that they should stick with. If it was me, I certainly wouldn't be drafting that way. So I want to see C9 pivot a little bit, and if they don't, and TSM get lucky with what falls through the draft, and you know, maybe there's outside chances.
No, that's a good point. And I remember saying after FlyQuest beat Cloud9, I'm like, I just hope that this loss teaches Cloud9 to not go for that Fiora anymore. But to your point, if they don't learn that lesson from that loss, I think that is a big opening for TSM, because Solo actually has been, for me, one of the better performers on TSM across all 4 of their games. The guy is just constantly a rock. Now, I'm not saying he's going to go up there and turn the tables on Fudge necessarily, but he's going to be able to absorb, you know, the kind of pressure that Fudge might be able or might be trying to put out on a Fiora. And then I wonder if TSM, again, would find their opening in the mid game. All that said, I don't really see it happening outside of big draft errors from Cloud9.
Yeah, I think you need a blunder draft. We saw 100 Thieves really tackled TSM easily in draft, I thought. They had a red side strategy where they were looking to outscale. They took the Zerilu early, and then that was the game where they had like the Zillion for Bjergsen and the tank for Tenacity. Like the 100 Thieves drafts were similar. We'll get to that later, but I like that blueprint of like pick a tank against Solo. Like don't try and beat him up in lane. Like
Solo you don't need to.
Solo wants you to try and beat him up. Like he's gonna be the guy that's like, I'm down for that. Like I'm gonna get beat up a little bit. I'm gonna out team fight you. So they didn't try and do that. Like they picked tank versus tank against Solo, and they played through double if they outscaled them. TSM looked dead in the water. So if C9 comes in with a good strategy, I think it should look pretty similar.
Absolutely. Okay, from there, let's jump to a FlyQuest and Evil Geniuses second matchup of the week. Wow.
Definitely game of the day for me.
Huge.
This is hype.
I mean, honestly, game 3 though. I'm looking ahead at TL and these as well, but we'll get to that. Okay, game of the week. You said.
Game of the week for sure.
Game of the week. FlyQuest Evil Geniuses. All right, dive into it for me.
So, on the one hand, we have 100 Thieves, we have EG, who before the season started, everybody was like, okay, them and FlyQuest wanted to. We don't know who's going to be the better team. Yeah. Then, after week 1, everybody in the mother says FlyQuest is the best team. Yeah. Evil Geniuses is like there, but they're not like with them. They're like one underneath, right? So now, already in week 3, EG gets kind of a crack at the apple, and they get to see and they get to test themselves and they get to show us, can they compete with FlyQuest and can they beat FlyQuest? So for me, I think that it's kind of like EG's game to win. I think expectations for me and probably for the community at large are lying on FlyQuest. So I'm interested to see which EG is going to show up.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, look, I think it's between this and the next game in terms of game of the week. I got to be honest. I don't see EG winning this game.
Really?
Yeah, don't see EG
no
winning
way
this game.
No,
not there's no way. Okay. I'm not saying, it's a lock, bet the house on it kind of a thing. But, again, like assuming everybody plays to par, right? I'm like, I think FlyQuest just straight up the better team right now. I'm still left. I think Vikla is outperforming JoJo through 4 games.
Yeah, fair.
And maybe a lot of that is me just falling back on week 1 JoJo.
I mean, even day 1, week 2, JoJo
wasn't fantastic, right?
He was iffy.
Yeah, and Prince is the best AD carry in the region at the moment for me.
He's the real deal. Yeah, he's a real deal.
And so I just don't. Again, I don't really see FBI and Vulcan turning, or just outperforming them in lane, in the mid game, or late. So then really, to me, you're left with, the top lane.
That's a question, right?
And Impact is the better top laner.
I mean, and that head-to-head is so long, too. We've seen these two top laners go head-to-head across a bunch of different teams for a bunch of different seasons now in LCS. And I feel like...
Like, to me, that's featured matchup just because, again, of the history.
Yeah. But let me ask you this. So if you... And now I'm not looking at the stats, right? But just feeling, when you think about what it feels like think of these two players head to head. Who do you feel like has had the upper hand?
Ooh, I mean, I think it's Impact. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
I think that's just him against every historical LCS top player. I remember running a graphic last year on the broadcast, and I don't remember exactly the stats on it, but it was a someday Impact meeting, and we literally did their head to head, and yeah, Impact has the better of him for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Impact is the better of everybody, like you said.
Yeah, so I don't know. And Spica's been playing well. I don't know. I just don't see it happening for EG.
So this is where EG needs to prove that the top lane change keeps them competitive, because they, Impact is a world-class player.
Yeah.
And they need now to show that Someday is also a world-class player, because if he's not, I don't see how they can compete with FlyQuest topside. Like, I think it's a little bit too much, but let's say theoretically that Someday can compete with Impact. Like, I don't think you can count EG out, because the mid-jungle 2v2 of Inspire JoJo, like, that was our best mid-jungle 2v2 by far last year.
Yeah.
They only added to that through international competition. I gotta believe that this is still our best mid-jungle 2v2.
Okay, I will absolutely give you that. Like, so, that is EG's way of winning, right? Is that JoJo returns back to, hey, I'm the best mid laner in North America.
Yes.
And then coupled with that, I've got one of the best junglers in North America, and together we make that best mid-jungle duo. Yeah, if they get him a priority lane matchup, so that he can actually push and roam with Inspired, then I see it. Then I see it for EG. Like, I see the in. I'm not saying it's going to be successful, but I at least see the in for a win. But I think it is entirely reliant on JoJo stepping up and just showing us a level he hasn't shown us yet this season.
Yes.
It's a level he's shown us before, so we know he's capable. That's the thing. I'm not asking him to ascend to a new level of JoJo to win this matchup. I think JoJo, in his best form yet, would be able to win this
We so
game.
rarely see that, It's like, I hate this like mythical JoJo that's like better than everybody, but like he gets dumpstered every week in LCS.
I'm not.
How many weeks in a row is he gonna have bad games before like we throw out?
I don't even need. Right? I don't even need him to win the lane, right? Like, I don't even need him to solo kill his laner. I'm just saying, I just need to see him intelligently play the lane phase so that he's pushing at the right times to link up and go to whichever side lane.
JoJo as a mid laner can compete on the international stage against the best in the world. We saw him against Zeka at, I mean, we all saw him against Zeka, but I saw him against Zeka maybe 50 times in scrims, because we used to scrim that team. We were like their main scrim partner for like a 2-week stretch. So I saw JoJo against Zeka like day after day after day. And like, they go toe to toe. JoJo's the real deal.
Right.
And he's said before that he has issues sometimes with playing down to level of the competition. And he uses that as an excuse, but he always says, against the best in the world, that he's going to rise to the competition. And now, buddy, Fickle is coming here for your spot. Like,
yeah, exactly.
This is not like Bjergsen or Jensen. This is not like your grandpa in the mid lane. This is like young blood, fresh LCK talent coming to take you down. Like, how do you respond to this?
Yeah.
So I need JoJo to step up in the way that he always does, in the way that he says he does. If not, we have serious questions about, can EG actually compete?
Yeah, no, he needs to defend the spot that he earned last year with his rookie performance. That's going to be a pretty sick matchup. I don't know what observers are going to have a tough time, because I had said top lane featured matchup, and now we're talking about how mid lane is really the one that matters. But also
it's this meta,
the meta, right? Yeah. They're never putting the camera mid, or very rarely putting the camera mid, because most of the time you're watching bot lane and the way that it's breaking down. So I'm like, oh my god, man, I'm not jealous of the observers this week on that game.
Give me that tri lane. give me like 8 minutes of the tri lane view. I don't want any zoom ins. Just give me.
I think the casters absolutely hate,
because they don't know what to cast.
Because they don't know what to
Stop
cast.
Casting. I mean, just think of it like you're casting a football match, or like a soccer match at that point, and just start like. You're basically just kind of shit.
Well, I was gonna say, just be NFL Red Zone, where it's like you've got all the games going, so just stop talking about them until something happens.
Exactly.
Right?
Talk about.
I feel for them there, though. I'm like, there's so much content.
Just close your eyes and cast the game like about what you've prepped and what you feel. Yeah.
All right, game number 3 of the week is so for me, this one I'm gonna try and make a case for this one being game of the week. Right, TL versus 100 Thieves, and the reason why I'll make the case for this is twofold. One, because of like trajectory of teams and standing, right? And so again, while 4-0 versus 3-1 from FlyQuest EG is a better standings matchup in a sense. 2-2 off of a 2-0 week, right? And 100 Thieves 3-1 off of a 2-0 week.
Yeah,
for
yeah.
two of the teams that, at least for me personally, were near the bottom of my top 6.
Yes.
They were kind of, well, TL was my 4 and 100 Thieves was my 6.
Yeah, yeah.
With CLG being my 5. And so for me, it's just kind of like, ooh, I want to see this head-to-head because it's going to start to define for me how I think the lower half of the top 6 is going to play out, if that makes sense. Because I think FlyQuest, C9, EG are top 1, 2, 3. Like, I almost think that's pretty set in stone.
Yeah.
Okay,
dude.
So from a standings, hold on. So that's from a standings perspective, right? Okay, fine.
No, go.
So from a standings perspective, that's that. Then the other thing is, this is Double Lift and Bjergsen against Team Liquid, right? Okay,
yes.
So Double Lift has won championships with this organization. Bjergsen just came from this organization, as well as, again, just from what we know of, or rather what our expectation is of this TL roster, against two of the winningest players historically in the LCS. I just think there's so much riding on the win for each org in this matchup to prove something, if that makes sense. So I think the win matters kind of more here for each org than it per se does in FlyQuest EG. I don't really know, but so that's the two cases I'm making.
There's intersecting stories here in this game, but like even just the League of Legends, I think is super compelling because 100 Thieves. After day 1, I had like huge alarm bells because the draft was whack. There was no coordination between mid jungle and bot lane, and I was like, "Whoa, that is not how I imagined this 100 Thieves team winning games." But since then, they've really dialed in on a really effective strategy for them, which is picking Double Lift, Zeri Lulu early in the draft, combining that with the Vi for just scaling CC lockdown, picking Tenacity a tank on 4-5, and then picking Bjergsen whatever mage he wants. It was Azir day 1, it was Zilean on day 2. And day 1 for Tenacity, it was Ornn, day 2, it was Cassante. And both days, they had Zeri Lulu Vi as their bottom. So it was essentially same exact strategy, plug and play mid laners and top laners, right? So they proved that, okay, Double Lift is better than the opposing bot lane. Let's give him a draft that outscales, put the ball in his hands. Okay, Double Lift can carry. Like, I already knew that. Like, you already knew that.
Well, and we talked about it in week 1 that I said I was surprised. Like, we always knew they would become a bot-centric team. Like, they would eventually land on, like, okay, we're a Double Lift team. But they did it in week 1, week 2. They like, made that realization. I was like, oh, they got there faster than expected.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
And then, to your point, in week 2, they just proved, they're like, not only are we a bot lane-centric team, we are the best. They're basically making that statement already. Like, they're trying to.
Yeah, I mean, they're saying, like, we're going to play this. Like, can you beat it?
Yeah.
They're just face-up playing Zeri Lulu and asking you, are you going to ban it, or do you have something that can beat us? Because Double Lift is going to beat you if you give him the Zeri Lulu, right?
Yeah.
So now we need to see Team Liquid's response to this, because I think it's very straightforward. Yeah, 100 Thieves can win games like this. Like, we all picture them winning games like this. So what kind of strategy is Team Liquid going to use to take 100 Thieves off of this? Will 100 Thieves have something in the tank to pivot to? Or are they going to have just like a different flavor of what they have right now? So like from a draft and from a gameplay perspective, if I'm a Team Liquid coaching staff, like this seems like a really vulnerable place for 100 Thieves to be, because they were kind of all over the place, and now they're playing a very specific strategy.
Yeah.
Like, I have a pretty good idea of what they're going to do this coming week.
Okay, you have a pretty good idea of what 100 Thieves is going to do. So then what should Team Liquid do? Because it feels like from an identity perspective, they still feel lost as a team, right? Again, we've brought up time and time again, like, what is your plan with Summit? Are you going to turn him into a Cassante, Ornn, player? Are you, are you going to try and play around him? Because when they've lost, he has looked in shambles in the top lane. Yeah. Right?
I mean, if you can't change the player, change the player, which is what Team Liquid tried to do at the and then it didn't work, so they brought him back, or what C9 tried to do, right?
But so I'm like, so what do you, it's kind of crazy to think that 100 Thieves is a team, right, who like is playing with their cards on the table, like you say. It's like, we know what they're going to do. They're playing open-handed. So TL can craft whatever they want. What would you do? I'm putting you in that draft coach position.
Yeah, like, I mean, so we gotta, first things first is we gotta reconcile what what Summit wants to do with what the team wants to do, and we gotta get on the same page. And there needs to be like a cohesive game plan for how are we involving this guy's crazy pressure style with what the rest of us want to do. If we have that, there's a lot of ways we can go. Like if, let's say 100 Thieves doesn't pivot at all. Let's say they're picking Ornn for tenacity and they're saying, okay, like we're not going to try and beat you, something like we're going to pick Ornn or Cassante, we're going to outscale you. Like that could be a bread and butter Summit situation where like he's getting a Gnar against Cassante, a Gnar against Ornn matchup, where he's pressuring, he's going up 20, 30 CS. Like, and now I'm asking Team Liquid, like, can you get the rest of the map involved with that? And can you bring like Core JJ up to the top side for Rift Herald? And can you bring mid jungle up there? And like, can you snowball through Summit? Like it's not enough to see him pressuring advantage 1v1 and then dying because he's not getting supported in the right way. Like, I want to see them open up 100 Thieves through tenacity. If he's gonna blind pick the top laner, that's a tank against Summit, and I think it's kind of a death wish. We saw that. You know, we saw Licorice try that.
Well, right, and I love that you bring that up only because if people have been watching at all LCK and LPL, a lot of the top lane matchups are like Renekton and Jace. You know, very different from what we see over here in the LCS. And that goes, I go back to your point about like, I wonder if Summit can kind of go that direction of like, all right, pick Ornn, I'm playing Jace. Right? And like, and we're coming top side and we're going to kind of try and run over the matchup, take your turret, you know, pre-14 with a Rift Herald, and then rotate the Jace through every other lane and poke people off of turrets. And like, that might be your best opportunity for winning, because I think trying to match them tank for tank in the top lane and play 100 Thieves style is just going to result in Doublelift being the better AD carry.
Ooh, that's
right.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely what I think. It's definitely what 100 Thieves want. You know, I think it's kind of their best shot. Yeah, I think they're definitely happy with that game state. Even drafts, tank for tank in the top lane. Both teams playing towards bot side, slow, controlled game. Bjergsen and Doublelift kind of, slowly getting their hooks in. Yeah, like when I play that in my head, I can see them winning those games. You know, the games I can't see them winning is Summit is exploding the map from top side. It's 12 minutes, you're already down 2 turrets, and you're like, holy shit, like we're on our second dragon, but he's up 2,000 gold and we don't have any turrets left in top lane. Exactly. Like, the game's happening too fast.
So yeah, I kind of think Summit's got to go the direction of the Eastern top laners and pick something and try and bully the young rookie in tenacity out of lane. We'll see if they can get it done. That is one that I would predict 100 Thieves for. We didn't actually make predictions officially, so let's backtrack for a quick moment. Cloud9 TSM,
quickly.
Cloud9, both of us.
For
okay.
Sure.
FlyQuest Evil Geniuses. I go FlyQuest.
I go FlyQuest 2. They look too damn good.
Okay.
It's hard though. It's hard, man. I want to say EG here.
I know you do. I could feel it the whole time that you wanted to say it.
But FlyQuest.
Okay. FlyQuest.
I told myself I'd stop trolling my predictions. FlyQuest.
All right. So we're both FlyQuest there, and then TL 100 Thieves. I'm 100 Thieves on that.
I'm 100 Thieves. Yeah. Okay. I'm 100 Thieves pretty happily. I think that they're gonna find a nice pivot. I'm excited to see. Because I think that this draft will be taken away from them. Yeah. Either with a prophylactic.
Can we make a prop bet as well?
Yeah.
Will TL ban Zilean?
Will they ban Zilean? 4-5?
I think they will ban it.
Where?
Somewhere.
1, 2, 3, or 4-5? Or at all?
Well, it kind of depends on who's blue-red, too, and I actually don't know who is.
We won't know.
I'm just going to call it. They ban Zilean 1, 2, 3.
Reasonable. I'll take the other side. But like that's a reasonable
somewhere bet. In 1, 2, 3.
If you said 4-5, I'd be like, I can't take that, man. I think that's probably gonna happen. Yeah, because I think 4-5, especially if Doublelift is on Zeri, ban Zilean. If you're gonna be blind picking a mage, like don't forget, Bjergsen Zilean will win the game. Like that shit is crazy.
Yeah, I think it's almost a for sure thing. If it hasn't been banned in 1, 2, 3, that it will be banned in 4, 5.
Man.
But so I'm gonna go for it. I'm going. They're scared and they're banning it 1, 2, 3.
And then a quick 30-second story. You guys will love this because whenever you're drafting against a Bjergsen team and you're going into 4-5, your players are always just in your ear saying, yo, what about Bjergsen coach, what about Zilean, what about Bjergsen Zilean, what about a Zilean coach? And it's so funny because it's like it's a meme from scrims because like players will troll him, coaches will troll him, yo, you're gonna pick your Zilean in scrims.
Yeah.
But don't forget, like he'll just pick it and win the fucking game. So like you better respect it.
So there you have it. There you have it. All right, we'll see if that one holds true. Next up, we've got CLG versus Golden Guardians, 4th game of the day on Thursday. CLG Golden Guardians, let's talk about CLG. CLG was another 2-0 team that fell down 0-2.
They had a tough 0-2.
And I think the big note or the big takeaway, at least for myself,
Who did CLG lose to? It was 100 Thieves?
They lost, I believe it was Cloud9, and
Check my notes. Let me check my notes.
I can scroll back.
Oh,
And they lost to Immortals. They gave Immortals their first
Oh,
win,
that
which was
game.
Brutal.
Oh, that
Brutal, and they
game.
lost to Cloud9. But so I want to start with the Cloud9 game.
Oh, they got
because
smoked
the
in that
Cloud9 game is where they completely lost their minds, though, right? Because again, we've talked about how
Oh, that was the contract.
we can appreciate
yeah.
appreciate kind of the change in, or rather the approach to development of this team around things like, hey, we didn't believe we were good with contracts on tanks before, so we're playing games of Sedge, we're playing games of Wukong. Like they're trying to make, and they're drafting super late game focus, things like that, and it's like, okay, that's all well and good. So then why, at 20-something minutes into the game, or even before that, was it second Rift Herald?
Yeah, it was second Rift Herald.
It was
like
top
16
lane.
minutes.
You're
or
right.
something.
Okay,
Yeah,
so it was like 16, 18 minutes. Second Rift Herald, top lane, getting dropped on your second tier turret, and like, fine, we get one good pick, and then we overchase.
Yeah.
Die. Fine. Okay,
Fine.
we overchased. We gave over an extra kill.
Yes. Yeah.
And then as we're coming back on the map, it's
worse.
you know this is full panic. This is just full. Everyone went into a frenzy, full panic. Like, we got to get to Dragon. We got to defend it. It's second Drake or some shit. Like
they're playing like a turbo outscaling draft, already down like
totally
5K. Game's like totally fucked.
Irrelevant Drake for in terms of the overall like game state or current game state. Exactly. And we opt into a fight. We should start the fight
with
we
no
go
setup
for it.
either.
With
from like three angles, it was like
lose the fight, lose the Drake, and everything just quickly snowballs out of control. This was the Fiora game. Like, we didn't like that draft from Cloud9, but they won it even with it.
Yeah,
and then they came back with it the next day. But so for me, the big takeaway for CLG was like they just lost their brains.
No, I know, and it's so hard for me to pick CLG against Golden Guardians because they're just a team that will beat teams better than them and lose like idiots to teams worse than them almost inexplicably, because they have this magical thing about them where if they're in a game where they're not expected to win, CLG plays fucking nasty. Like, if CLG is the underdog, like, this is the best team in the league.
Right.
But as soon as you put like any amount of expectations on CLG at all, they totally crumble. And like in the EG game, or in the EG game where they were fighting tooth and nail, and all in these EG games that they were doing last year, like, EG is expected to be the better team, so CLG fights like hell, and they come back and win that game, right? Crazy win. But in a game against Immortals, where, you know, the expectations are the other way, like, it's almost impossible for them to keep their cool.
Yeah, I'm actually refreshing myself on this Immortals game a bit, because I don't remember this one as well as the Cloud9 game. I'm trying to remember where
this was like a pretty. This was like one of the weirder LCS games.
Wasn't this a close?
This was
closer.
Kenvi smited his own Baron. It wasn't ever that close.
Oh, right, he did.
This was he Kindred ultied the Nash and smited his own Kindred ulti. But yeah, so the problem I had with the CLG Immortals game too was also the draft, because it felt like. This is like, maybe we can put the draft up on the screen. Even if we can't, they were playing Irelia mid with Gwen Maokai and the Zeri Lulu. So they had like this triple melee topside, and they were blue side, right? And the Kassadin was open on blue side 4-5. Neither team remembered it being Kassadin, and it felt for me like CLG were unable to blind pick any mage with the Kassadin open, and they also couldn't blind pick the Kassadin. So they like just jammed Irelia, even though it really made no fucking sense in the context of both drafts.
So they basically just screwed themselves, because they already had they opted into double AP with mid top, or with top jungle, right? Maokai, and they chose the Gwen, and that goes, okay, crap. Now we're hyper AP damage on the top side. Yeah. So now we're looking for an AD mid laner blind, as opposed to taking maybe a less optimal top lane matchup. Against the Cassante by taking an AD top laner of some kind, but then giving Palafox more options in the mid lane. I think that would have been a better draft approach.
No, I think so, and I bet that they found themselves in a situation where Gwen was their third pick against the Cassante, because what happened is Immortals picked Cassante on 3, and then they banned Fiora and Jax, which are the two AD top laners you would pick against Cassante. So you see Dokla's like, oh, I can only play Gwen here. Like, Gwen's like the only thing, maybe not, but like that's how it goes, right? He's picking the Gwen there, and then Palafox has to go and find an AD mid laner. So he found the Irelia, and it's just not working. Yeah. In this game.
Yeah, wasn't sold on the draft here, but you're kind of right. As I'm like kind of quickly skipping through it, it was a fairly dominant game.
It was never
from
like
Immortals.
in doubt.
Bot lane got very far
but it was
ahead.
never like either. It was never locked up either. I was not sold from either team. But like
No.
quietly, Blaze Olive was having himself a game on his ear. He's just pushing waves and farming. And Kenvi looked a little nervy at times, but he was also a monster in this game. He was like super fucking farmed and did a lot of damage in
Yeah,
team
he
fights.
was by far the biggest individual gold lead on the team. So I mean, yeah, this was this was a good first win for Immortals. I'll
Can we
say
talk about Immortals yet, or
What?
Should we? Because this is like a segue. Are we talking about Immortals or no?
No, we're not.
Gotta
Sorry,
wait. Okay.
sorry. It's just that it got away from us and reflecting
cool.
on the CLG the CLG
no, it's
matchups.
cool.
But yeah, so for me, CLG. Look, here's the reality of it is, I'm fine with the way that CLG generally wants to approach draft, strategically, even though we didn't like that Immortals draft the way it.
But they usually
ended.
are trying something, and you can kind of see it. You're
Yes,
like, I see the
there's a
angle.
clear vision and a clear game plan at least, or a strategy of winning, and I'm fine with that. But then I just need them to play better to those win conditions, right? And that's really the takeaway for me from their game against Cloud9. And so when I look at a game against Golden Guardians, a team that is definitely perceived as worse than them, right?
Yes.
I go, okay, then I want to see, as mistakeless a game as you can give me, right? Even if you choose scaling, then I want to see the jungler being well tracked. I want to see River being well tracked, right? I want to see.
I think they'll lose this game.
You think they're gonna lose?
I think they'll lose this game.
All right, give me the reason.
I think they'll lose this game, and I don't even think it'll be that close.
Whoa.
Yeah, I think Golden Guardians.
So you think the 0-4 Golden Guardians?
If you look at, you can't pick me a team with a harder first 4 games in Golden Guardians.
Facts.
You can't.
Yep. Yeah, you're right.
So, and you also can't find me like better looking losses against top teams than the Golden Guardians games against our best teams in league. Their game against FlyQuest was pretty sick.
Yeah.
Maybe my best game of the season.
Wow.
Or my favorite game of the season was Golden Guardians from like a very macro standpoint. Both it was a nice game. Mm-hmm. So with that context, I think that people have sold their GGS stocks way too soon. I think this is totally undervalued. I think buy it while the value is low. Stocks are going to go up here for Golden Guardians. I think they're going to win this game and go on a little bit of a spree because their hardest half is over.
It's a good week for them. Yeah. Well, and the rest of the round robin will be pretty decent for them matchup wise. So, but what about Golden Guardians in their losses makes you feel like they're going to beat CLG? Because my concern is playing into, again, the style that CLG has shown us.
Yeah.
I don't actually know if Golden Guardians is going to beat them just because compositionally I think they're going to have a worse team fighting comp. So you're just going to end up in a very stalled out game because Golden Guardians is not going to shut the door on them like Cloud9 did, for example.
Won't.
And so I think you're going to end up in like a 40-minute game where CLG is going to have a full late game team fighting comp and just win by virtue of that.
You totally could. I could definitely see this game going long. I will say the couple things that I think Golden Guardians has going for them in this matchup is, one, Licorice isn't going to get run over by Dokla as hard as he would against other tops.
True.
And he was bad in their loss to Team Liquid.
Okay.
He cost him the game himself, basically, with the Gragas pick in his play. It was brutal. One of the worst individual performances we've seen all season. With that context, I think he'll be fine in the game against CLG. And also, with
the context that he's bad, he'll be fine.
Yeah, with the context that he's been getting abused and drafting for himself poorly. He needs to draft for himself better. Stop putting yourself in those bad spots, man. Like he's not that bad of a player. He just put himself in an unwinnable situation and made matters so worse for him. But yeah, I also think their mid laner, Gory. I've been hella impressed by Gory.
Gory's been a rock star.
I've been hella impressed by Gory, and I think that actually the Gory River 2v2 is kind of nice.
It is.
It's kind of nice.
No, definitely.
And so I'm kind of high on Golden Guardians.
Yeah, bot lane is where I'm worried about Golden Guardians at the moment. Not that I think the CLG bot lane is the type to hard abuse that.
Yeah.
So again, just maybe they won't be tested.
Yeah,
so
that's
are
why
we
I think the
split
matchup's
here? Is our
good.
first
Well, are you
difference?
CLG?
I'm going CLG
then,
here.
we're split here.
I am going to go CLG here because again, I'm just predicting that 40-minute game. I think it's. I don't think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be clean by any means.
45 minutes.
Yeah,
cooking up something.
It's going to be ugly, but CLG is going to get it over the line. That brings us to the final Thursday game, which is Immortals versus Dignitas. So again, another. The nice thing about this is that it is, standings wise, all of the matchups on Thursday are separated by a game. A game at most. They're either tied in the standings or separated by one. So a lot of these head-to-heads matter quite a lot. And so Immortals gotta win this week. They're actually going to be feeling pretty good about this. Dignitas, to me, actually, is the team that I still still struggle the most with trying to figure out how. And I don't actually know. I regret not looking this up. If Ignar will be in finally, because that is one of the things that we've kind of been waiting for Dignitas is like, let us see when Ignar's back in if this dynamic changes.
I don't think they shouldn't say until they have to tell their opponent, which is Wednesday.
Which would be Wednesday
24
night.
hours.
Yeah, exactly.
24 hours.
Yeah.
So we probably won't know until Wednesday, which is after this is being recorded.
Of course.
So,
this is being recorded on Monday morning. So, yeah, I think that's the tough thing for me here is not knowing, obviously, because I think I get a little injection of faith.
Assume he's not here.
Okay, assuming he's not here, they're doomed. And I'm actually giving this one to Immortals because I just you ban Gnar against Dig.
Step one,
and the entire top side becomes like null. Right, it's just a null. Yeah, exactly.
It's like the Schrodinger's top side. Is it there or not? I don't know.
Revenge has been solid.
Yeah.
So that's another thing about that is I'm like, not only do I think it's an easy attack strategy, pick ban wise against the top side, then Revenge is actually, one of the top winners on a lower ranked team that I think can get some stuff done. Outside of that, I don't see how Santorin and Jensen really get a ton done. Right, without somebody like Ignar, who seems to have a little bit more of that aggression like built into his system. And for as many mistakes as Tactical and Fleshy have had, which has been many, right? And like again, we went hypercritical on that 2v2 with the Draven Axe and all that kind of stuff.
We did.
What I can appreciate is, for example, in their win, Lucian Nami, they were kill leaders on their team. Pushing forward, sure, Tactical still had a couple deaths, but like they are keeping up the aggression. Yeah. And so in this matchup, where like my criticism of Dignitas is they don't have any fight, they don't have any aggression. I actually see plenty of it from the side of Immortals.
Yeah, great point.
And so, and I see it coming from multiple players in multiple roles.
It is because Revenge is doing it like Fleshy and Tactical.
And then
Kenvi,
you pick Kindred, you have to be right. And I kind of just like I don't know if I'm just giving credit to like the team that is creating more exciting moments, by virtue of being aggressive,
which you literally should and can, because nobody wants to watch Dignitas do nothing for 20 minutes and lose, like they have for 4 games.
Yeah. So don't get me wrong. The way in which Dignitas could win this is Immortals does a bunch of aggressive shit that does not work out. Like they go for a dive, misplay. It gets covered or they get misplayed.
I don't know how Dignitas wins. I haven't seen it, and I've heard. Rumor has it that we haven't seen it in scrims either. This team's really struggling to win games. They are struggling to win games. Like some of their win-loss records against some teams in the league are, it's not pretty. So. It's like, if I'm work backwards now, so Dignitas kills the Nexus.
All right.
Working backwards, like this end game where like they're ahead and somebody's carrying, I'm already like, I already can't find
No, because in my head, all I'm seeing is Santorin on Sejuani. I'm seeing Jensen on Orianna.
At his tier 2 turret.
It
may be on his fountain.
Well, sorry, I'm
way back.
I'm trying to go from your Nexus skill work backwards though, right? So the fight that led up to that is a Sejuani, a Wukong, and an Orianna ball.
Okay.
So it's Armut bringing Wukong back to the top lane.
There's a Wukong in the game?
Well, which I think might be an interesting flex, because we haven't actually seen anyone flex Wukong to the top lane. We've only seen people pick Wukong, somewhere 1, 2, 3, and we know what's going jungle. So I would be intrigued if Armut brings it back to the top lane in a flex and gives Santorin the opportunity to counter. Maybe it's not Sedge, because if we have Wukong for the delivery of the ball, that's kind of all we need, right? So maybe it's not the Sedge. Maybe we just give counter to, hey, if they go heavy, they go heavy tank, maybe he plays his Trundle and gets early top lane gank off.
I don't even
mind level
Sedge.
2.
It's fine. Sure.
I don't mind Sedge either, but a level 2 gank with a Wukong top side. And a kill,
try something
and then an Orianna.
Yeah.
To me again, like, I'm not saying that that's an ideal comp in the meta or anything like that. But if I'm just trying to think about how these players play, and historically win, though that would kind of be how I would prepare the top side, and then I think you then
hole in the bot side, like just hoping that it's okay down there.
So then I don't know. I mean, I think you could reasonably go both ways. You could go with like Lucian Nami.
For bio and spawn?
You could. I'm saying you could do like Lucian Nami and just say like, hey guys, lane solidly.
Sure.
While we try and
Yeah,
get this gank off top
Okay.
side and like unlock the Wukong or something. Or you go very much, I could see you go the absolute other direction with, Lulu and Sivir.
Yeah.
And then you just have full-on team fight comp. Like Sivir ults, Wukong, Sedge, Orianna go in, and you're throwing boomerangs through the team. Like, that's, again, I'm not saying it's going to happen.
Jensen gets 10 kills magically, and
That's
he gets like a free death cap, and then he's one-shotting everybody with Shockwave. That's how they win. Yeah,
That's my way of Dignitas winning.
I think it's totally
Alright?
totally valid. I would agree with you, but Jensen needs like 10 free kills because he needs like a free death cap on his Orianna, and then I can see them winning. Also, Orianna got like a small buff too.
Did she? I
don't know if that's a patch this week. Might be getting ahead of ourselves, but yeah, I just
Well, we saw Orianna play.
I don't want to beat up on Dignitas too much, but
No, I don't
think
either. I'm just...
I think they have very little hope. I'm gonna be real with you. Despite Immortals also looking rather weak and being a 1-3 team, I think they're significantly better than Dignitas, and they'll make Dig look lifeless.
I just want to make the addendum to the hope statement, which is, I have some restored or renewed hope when Ignar officially arrives.
Same.
But yeah, I'm with you on like the hope is dying, is dwindling up until that point.
I'm totally hopeless. But once Ignar's in here,
So
I
both of
reserve
us
the right
going Immortals on this one.
Yeah.
All right.
Immortals.
Okay. We've got 5 more matchups to go since these are, obviously at this point we're repeating teams.
And we pick the cool ones, and we kind of because we've already talked about all the teams.
Right. So since we're repeating teams, we can go a little bit quicker through this second half, day number 2. So Friday. Another big one, though, to kick things off.
Cool.
Oh, my God, man. FlyQuest 100 Thieves.
Yeah.
What a banger week. Okay, FlyQuest 100 Thieves. I think my difficulty here now becomes...
Sick.
Oh, my God, this bot lane matchup, dude. Oh, my God, this bot lane matchup,
sick.
though.
And also,
Prince versus Double... And a lot of it is
both
predicated
these
on the
teams just
success.
had a hard day 1, too. Yeah, so, like, this game is so cool because either FlyQuest just beat EG or lost EG, and 100 Thieves either just beat Team Liquid or lost to Team Liquid.
Yeah.
So either way, like, there's extra oomph in these games.
Yeah, I mean, so there is absolutely a possibility that these teams are actually tied in the standings when they meet. They could still be a game separated, right? If both teams just win or both teams lose.
So this is just a question of will 100 Thieves have another look, right? Because even if 100 Thieves played their Zeri Lulu scaling look, like, that's already FlyQuest's look. Like, FlyQuest invented that look in NA. It was like Speak on Maokai with Prince on the Zeri. They played that week 1 already.
Yeah.
So that kind of scaling Prince style draft, FlyQuest is already good at that.
Sure.
I don't think 100 Thieves can beat FlyQuest playing that way necessarily.
Oh, but I think 100 Thieves thinks they can.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
I think you're right.
I think that might be the issue is that both of these teams, like, that's really what this
they'll
to me is the test is I think both teams are going to square up.
You're right. I think the
and we're
going to
get
similar.
like Lulu's area on one side, and we'll get Sivir, Karma, or what, I don't know, something else. But I think we're going to get like a pretty squared up scaling bot lane matchup.
I don't think either team will get Zeri because I don't think either team gets Zeri.
Okay.
I think Zeri will be banned actually.
Well, that's probably the smart play
so I
because
think
you don't want to be the team without it.
Yeah, I don't think
when you're the same style
exactly.
team.
Yeah, and I feel like they're both going to be thinking about their counters to it, and they're both going to be like, nah, fuck it, let's just ban it.
I'm gonna laugh then so
I
hard
think
if we go hard the other direction. Now I'm like, it's gonna be Busio and Double Lift on Lucian Nami, and then it's gonna be like Prince.
I don't know
like,
what they'll do.
Would Prince just go for his Ezreal then? You think?
Yeah.
And
I mean, I don't think that Lucian Nami is actually totally pickable. Ezreal Karma probably would be what I would.
Yeah, that's
would
what I'm
what I would
thinking
do.
is actually. So now I'm thinking this is gonna play out with a Lucian Nami for the Double Lift side of things, and we're gonna get like an Ezreal Karma for.
I think that's pretty
side.
likely actually. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm just excited to see that bot lane matchup.
Dude, me too.
What about the rest of the map, though? Because this is somewhere where, like, Bjergsen, again, some of my concerns ever since he's returned to the LCS, right, is his lane performance itself, right? And so, like, and Vikla has been the best mid laner in the league so far.
He's no
and
slouch.
so that's actually probably one of my major concerns for 100 Thieves. Well, actually, we haven't even gotten to top lane and talk about impact with Tenacity. Ooh, that is a test for Tenacity.
Do we make a pit stop at mid lane?
We should. I'm sorry. I'm getting ahead of myself with all these matchups.
Yeah, dude, it's exciting games. Like, hard not to. But the thing with Bjerg against Vikla is I don't know what Bjerg I'm going to get. Because
I think Bjerg's resigned to getting pushed in this game.
But he had that dog in him on Sylas though. Like Bjerg's Sylas game, there was a little bit of dog in him. And I like that.
I'd like to see that.
I like that look from
I'd
Bjergsen.
like to see that.
So I'm curious if Bjergsen is going to want to go toe-to-toe with him, or if he's just going to pick like Zillion against Azir. And
That's
like,
what I think he's
totally
gonna do.
AFK
I think
the
he's
matchup.
just going to AFK
like,
the matchup.
Bjergsen could absolutely AFK the matchup and be fine.
Yeah.
And no doubt Bjergsen can be like fine against anybody, like handshaking a matchup on Zillion or Azir. We don't know. We know that Bjergsen can do that. We don't know if he can actually beat Vikla, right? So Vikla's going to try and beat him. No doubt in my mind about Vikla, right? So I think Vikla's going to come at Bjerg, and he's going to try and play on the front foot like FlyQuest likes to do. So
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's damn. It's an exciting game.
Yeah, I think Bjergsen.
I think 100 Thieves will get attacked, though. I think
yes.
100 Thieves are going to be feeling it.
I do agree.
If you think about how the game's going to feel, FlyQuest is going to be attacking. For sure.
The only place where I could see it being the other direction, though, is the bot lane. Like, I think Lucian... Again, if
we get the double
we get that
Lucian.
kind of Lucian Nami thing, I do think 100 Thieves is going to try and be pushing and pressuring bot lane, but I do think Bjergsen's going to be hard shoved in and resign himself mid lane, which is going to make for an interesting bot lane dynamic. And because how do you protect that pushed bot lane?
We saw so much of that in week 2, where the mid laner was getting like split from his bot lane.
Yes, yeah,
and he wasn't able to coordinate with the jungler in the bot lane. So even if the bot lane was winning, it wasn't mattering because the mid lane was disconnected.
Exactly.
Yeah. So can they get connected as a bot side and actually pressure? Yeah, that's the question.
Okay, and then you get to the top side of the map and you have Impact versus Tenacity, and this is where I think it's going to be a really awesome test for Tenacity against the best top laner in the history of the LCS. Bro. So. Again, I'm more just looking at this matchup from a place of excitement around one of our hot new prospects, in the league.
Totally.
But also like, okay, now you've got to try and take down the immovable object of Impact. Will 100 Thieves decide to resign Tenacity to things like the Ornn duty and say, hey man, just, play a solid matchup against Impact. That in and of itself is a win, That
would be a huge win because Impact is one scary dude. Like, I coached Impact for 2 years, and I've seen Impact against LCS tops. I've seen Impact against the best international tops in the world, and he can go toe-to-toe with anybody.
Yeah.
Okay? Even now, in his current age and in LCS, he can go toe-to-toe with anybody. And the scary thing about Impact is you'll be in a scrim, the lane just started. It's 135.
Yeah.
Minions just got there. Both top laners have autoed the minions once, and then out of nowhere, Impact goes, oh, I won lane. This guy's dead. Yeah. And you're like, what, bro? Like, you guys autoed the minions once, nothing happened. And then, like, a minute, 30 seconds in the future, the guy's lane is unplayable, and it's all because he literally, like, made one tiny mistake on the first wave. Impact's already seen that 1,000 times before, and he's going to punish you for the rest of the game in a scary way. The problem is, Tenacity just hasn't had enough reps in these matchups against a world-class player to understand all of these traps. Yeah. So it could get away from him, right?
Totally.
It could get ugly in top lane against Impact, because it could get ugly against Impact for anybody. Yeah. Let alone Tenacity, who hasn't seen that kind of stuff a lot, right? He's seen it some, but he hasn't seen it a lot. So it's a scary one for me.
Yeah, and it's no real criticism of Tenacity. It's just the reality. It's just the reality of Tenacity's experience at this point, right? Which is he just doesn't have it. And so, for me, that's one of my biggest concerns for 100 Thieves is just like, even in what might be an even matchup, Impact is going to eke out those incremental advantages. Yeah. And so.
And he'll never let you get anything out of him either. You'll never move first. You'll never help your mid laner first. You'll never help your jungler. Like, you'll never put down vision first. Yeah. Like, you're never having any fun against
And
Impact.
Assuming the rest of the map is relatively stable, therefore, obviously, that's where I give FlyQuest that edge of Impact just having a little bit more, excuse the pun, impact in team fights by virtue of that small lead that he created topside. Speak of Closer, though, another matchup that I know we're actually going pretty heavy into this FlyQuest 100 Thieves, but it
deserves it, and there's only a few games that deserve it for day 2. So
Speak of Closer, though, is an interesting one for me because of the way that Spica has been pretty much relegated to Maokai. I mean, again, you're going to leave Maokai up, we're going to pick it, right? And so I'm not flaming him for the pick. If it's up, you should take it. But Speak is an interesting one right now because he is playing very much that kind of utilitarian tank role for for the team. Whereas Closer, for example, like I still see the Viego, he seems to have a little bit more, I don't want to say creativity because I know that Spica would would go to a lot of these champions if it was necessary, right? But it's just like
he seems to be doing a slightly different.
He's just
job.
already had more.
He's doing a different job.
Yeah,
a little bit inside the game and also inside their draft.
Yeah, so it seems that 100. Yeah, exactly. I guess that's a better way to put it. Like both teams have relegated their junglers to slightly different roles, like within the team, where it does seem like Speakits start the fights, be aggro, start the fights, things like that, and then for closer, it feels like there's a little bit more of a carry.
I think
oriented,
so. Yeah.
I
think Spica has been one of our best junglers at playing for lanes so far in this split. Like him and Inspired, I'm really noticing like sacrificing camps, like especially on the Maokai and the Sedge, like not playing for themselves at all, just being right place, right time for their laners, and ultimately just being really heady, intelligent junglers. And I think he's going to continue to play that way. And I think ultimately that favors a team like FlyQuest in this meta because it is about playing for your lanes.
Right.
It's not about the hard carry, hard farming jungler meta of old. So, yeah, it's an interesting matchup, but I think that ultimately Spica's job is easier, more like it's better in the meta too. So not only is it easier to execute, but I think it's just a better strategy.
Okay.
So I'm pretty comfortable with FlyQuest in this matchup, honestly.
I am too.
Yeah.
I think what's the only thing that now concerns me is so I with FlyQuest on day 1 and day 2, now I'd bring them to a full 6-0.
Okay.
Which just statistically in the LCS doesn't like that very rare.
Really? Is that rare? Okay,
I think in anything it's like 6-0s. Again, I mean some of it should be just based on matchup,
You're right.
things like that.
It's not easy to do.
I'm just like and given that both of their matchups are big ones this week, now I'm just like I'm predicting them in both matchups, but I'm also predicting that they actually go 1-1 this week.
Really?
If that makes sense.
It does make sense.
Like I do think they should win each of these matchups individually.
Yeah.
But I do think FlyQuest is going to drop their first game this week. If that makes sense.
It does. That's a hot take. I think that they won't fall prey to that trap.
Okay.
I think that I would predict them in both their games pretty confidently.
Dude,
FlyQuest is the real deal.
Yeah. I mean, I'm predicting them confidently too because I will be angry the moment they start losing one of these games. I'll be like, no, you're the better team. You should not be losing. Yeah. But I do think they will lose one. Okay, TSM, CLG. Both, actually, this is a huge matchup because both teams, 2-0,
it's a huge matchup.
Huge
and
rebounds.
Nobody knows what the fuck is going on with either of these teams.
Nobody knows.
Nobody knows anything. Okay, so I feel like
I'm giving it to TSM.
I'm
going the TSM route. We're swapping places because last week I was a doomer on TSM while you still kept up the faith. I'm flipping back over to TSM and I'm going for TSM over CLG.
I'm like this spurned lover in this relationship with TSM, and I don't want to. I was there for you last week, and you weren't there for me, so I'm not gonna be there for you this week, kind of thing. And I feel like I can't pick them, but I don't think they can win without solo on Warren, and I'm like, and it's crazy.
He can play Gnar.
Sounds like
he can play Gnar.
No, that sounds like really bronze analysis, and like. But again, it's like I'm working backwards from like TSM winning, and it's like in all these situations, it's like solo is on Warren in my head, and. Maybe like Cassante or something similar, but
No, I feel you. Okay, here's my reasoning for why TSM is going to win.
Because I'm conflicted.
Which is preying on the mental lapses for CLG. And so I think just stylistically.
So will CLG feel as an underdog, or will you feel like they?
Oh, I'm not. Oh, sorry, I'm not talking about the underdog.
How do you think they'll feel?
Ooh, no, I think CLG expects they'll win this game. Okay. So maybe that does play into your idea, right? Oh, we're supposed to win. Okay. But from my perspective, just stylistically, actually, the way that like this TSM team makes plays, like Boogie and Maple, they like there's action in TSM games, and even the TSM bot lane has taken a lot of 2v2s, even though they've lost some.
True.
My point is, there's a lot of action.
Yeah.
And if CLG wants to keep drafting into their late game style, but is forced into action, I think we might get to that point where again they fall victim to the pace of the game, and as soon as the other team accelerates or they opt into a fight. And it feels like the pace of the game accelerated. Right. They kind of keep going with it.
They do, yeah.
And that's my case for TSM winning is that they actually are a playmaking team.
And they play fast.
I expect them to play fast and make plays.
Boogie likes to play fast, gank a lot early,
and kind of just like wrap CLG up in that,
totally. I can see it. I can picture it now.
Yeah, that's what I'm going for.
I think TSM can 100% lose that way. Yeah. And the way that CLG would win is like the inverse of that, where like Contracts is on a tank, like being very disciplined, like not going for too much, like holding himself back, covering his laners at the right time.
Agreed.
Like they're playing with some insurance, but none of like the full scaling, can totally concede bottom drafts. It needs to be
no Irelia mid.
And no Irelia mid, yeah. So it needs to be like a more a CLG look nonetheless, but a
Yeah.
more stable CLG look, and I think that they can
Okay.
win.
Okay.
And I
so
do
are you
think-
going for that prediction, or you? Because I'm predicting TSM.
I will go for this one. This one is hard.
Yeah, it is hard.
I have to go CLG.
Okay.
I have to go CLG.
Okay. Fair enough. All right. Evil Geniuses versus Cloud9. Again, another big matchup, and bigger even depending on results. Again, if
Yeah.
Evil
Oh,
Geniuses
wow,
somehow overcomes FlyQuest, which
Well, I mean, let's assume they don't maybe right off the bat because that's kind of fun.
Sure, right?
Because now,
so they're rebounding.
so context of EG is they dropped a game week 1 they probably shouldn't have.
Yep.
They had a lot of pressure on them for week 2. They lived up to it.
Yes.
Right. But if they have another 1-1 week, then you're kind of starting to drop down the standings. They really want to put a couple of 2-0s back to back so they can really cement themselves as the top of the standings. So considered now,
Dude,
they lose.
JoJo's mid lane matchups though now.
It's
'Cause
hard.
we already talked about the Vickle one.
Yeah.
But now he's against Diplex.
Vickle and Diplex,
Which
day one,
you,
day two.
So you kind of, and this is what's funny is it's another example of
This
a
guy's
new
coming
mid
for you.
laner
He's
coming
coming
in,
for you.
coming for your
You gotta
spot.
defend your turf, right?
Wow, this whole week is about
It's
JoJo
hype for
defending
It's
his turf,
it's
man.
sick for JoJo, but like let's consider though, if they lose on that day 1, there's a lot of pressure and expectations on EG because now the 0-2 week is looming over them. And there's already the context of people were already questioning them after week 1. So there's
Totally.
like all kinds of needless outside narrative pressure that's like laying on EG already in week 3, So my question is, can those guys stay insulated from this during this
Right.
week? Can they put the blinders up and just focus on what they have to do and what they have to get done in practice to feel confident and prepared for the weekend? Because I think EG is a damn good team, and I think that if they're 55-45 against FlyQuest, and I think like they're the 45, and then I think that they're 55-45 with the 55
Yeah.
against C9.
Okay.
I think both the games are winnable
Okay.
and losable.
Yeah.
Both the games are winnable and losable for them, and it's going to be a mental test if they can bounce back on day 2. And it's a damn. This has been a testing 3 weeks for EG. They have had a hard start to
Yeah,
the
but the
split,
first
huh?
one shouldn't
They
have
did it
been,
to
right?
themselves.
That's
So
the
they
thing.
they did it to themselves. They
Yeah.
shouldn't have been tested until week 3, but they found themselves getting tested back-to-back weeks. Now it's 3 back-to-back weeks. They're getting
Okay.
tested. Wow.
So I heard you say 55-45 though. So are you
Yeah.
you're gonna go ahead and go with EG?
I'm
here?
going to go with EG over C9 on day
Okay.
2. Yeah, I am. And it's really tight because I believe that they're going to have lost to FlyQuest on day 1. And I think ultimately that could actually impact their chances to win on day 2.
Yeah.
So like in a vacuum, I'm EG over C9. But I mean, in the context of losing to FlyQuest the day before, it's like, it gets tricky.
Losing to FlyQuest the day before, again, I think this is a matchup where I care a lot about how the draft actually plays out.
Yeah.
Some predictions between teams I can kind of make regardless
Right,
of
but this-
knowing what they're going to do.
The
But
FlyQuest game too really comes down to
and again, Evil Geniuses Cloud9, I'm thinking again immediately back to like, well, what does Fudge pick? Right?
Are we playing Fiora?
Because if we're
Are we playing Fiora?
Because if we're
Like-
fucking playing Fiora into some days Cassante, then I don't really have faith.
No.
And I think EG's going to steamroll a team that disrespects them like
Yes.
that. But if Fudge goes for a Jax Cassante matchup or gets the Cassante side of some kind of tanky matchup
Sure.
or whatever, then all of a sudden I think roll back over to the Cloud9 side of things. Like,
yeah. I can see that.
I've been pretty impressed by Diplex, honestly.
Me
Like
too,
he's
me
had
too.
clear weaknesses as a young player, but that's fine. He's also had a lot of really impressive plays. I guess for the sake of being different, I'll go Cloud9 here, and then they're gonna lock in Fiora, and I'm gonna instantly curse the heavens. But
But that's okay because you already caveated this. It's like
I did.
no Fiora.
No Fiora, please. Okay, Dignitas versus Team Liquid. For
Don't even
me,
need to- don't
I
even
don't think we
say
need to
anything.
discuss this one too much. I'm gonna go Team Liquid. I think it's just kind of again until Dignitas shows me something or until Ignar's back
I'm
in,
on
we can rehab this
two things.
discussion.
I'm on perfect game watch when there's a Dignitas game, and I'm also on substitute watch. Who's getting benched or who's like benching themselves.
Right, when do they
Like-
decide to make an actual
Right.
roster change?
Yeah.
Irrespective of Ignar, if at all.
I think like them getting perfect games is much more likely than them winning.
Yeah.
At
Okay.
At this point, which is crazy. Have we ever been
that's
able to
really
say
sad.
that in LCS history? I don't only think about that for 10 seconds. Don't go too deep, but like
I'm not gonna go too deep, but I'm actually gonna say yes, we have.
Have
We've
we?
had some pretty
okay,
poor
okay.
teams regular season wise.
Okay.
I'm not gonna try and reflect and call them out, but yeah, we've had some like
Okay.
low win teams
Okay.
in the past.
In recent memory, I don't remember feeling this way. But
Well, that's fine.
what I'm saying.
That's
but
because you were sitting on winning teams.
that's because I was
you
winning
ass.
LCS. Yeah, true. Shit.
Yeah, it's hard to really
Yeah.
commiserate with
Okay,
that
yeah.
feeling when
got
I'm
me
over
there.
here winning the LCS.
That's not what I meant, but I will take that.
Exactly. Final game of the week is another one. Well, actually, this one is closer. but it's still bottom of the table matchup. It's Immortals versus Golden Guardians, but I think this is an exciting one because of a lot of what you talked about.
I like it.
Golden Guardians is the most impressive 0-4 team.
Yeah,
I've seen in a long time.
Yeah.
In a long time. And so
I actually think they're decent.
And why I'm excited about this though is that again, both teams, they're active teams. Again, we've seen a lot of fleshy tactical 2v2s bot lane, like being aggressive. We've seen Kenvi look to get engaged.
Also, we've seen Gory Loki smashing.
And then I was gonna say, and then Gory and River.
I don't know. He's like laning well, like building CS leads. Maybe he's not like translating his advantage like as well as
but he's team fighting well too.
No, he's playing mechanically well.
Yeah, he's had some big plays, and then. Yeah, I think River honestly is once again kind of quietly showing himself to be a really solid LCS jungler, not necessarily competing for the top spot, but like
but he can play.
Is absolutely serviceable,
yeah,
and I think the ability for him to play things like the Poppy are actually hugely beneficial for this team. Again, my concern for them really still revolves around top side a lot of times. Just Licorice has not shown me the old image of Licorice, and I know at this point it's old in the Cloud9 version of him, but like I don't know, that was a player that I feel like I saw him play with so much more confidence when he was on Cloud9, and I'm sure playing on a winning team helps with that.
I don't know what it is because I don't know what it is because.
But I missed that version of Licorice, and I don't know where that went.
And I want if I'm coaching, right? I'm like, I want my top laner to fucking refuse to pick Gragas on 4. Like I'm never gonna forget picking. I'm never gonna forget him blind picking tank Gragas on 4 on red side. He gave 5th pick to his mid laner. Both top and mid were unpicked. He blind picks tank Gragas on 4 against Summit with Sejuani showing for Team Liquid. Summit could play 10 champions there to win the game by himself. And as a coach, I want my top laner to say, fuck no, coach. I can't pick there. Yeah. I can't pick a tank there. I'm gonna get destroyed.
Get blasted.
But for some reason, he just they accept the fact that he's gonna get blasted, and they pick him Gragas on 4, and it was just.
Yeah,
bad,
they did him no
Don't
favors.
do that to yourself, and if it wasn't you, then your coach should be held accountable, man, because he really fucking did you dirty. Now we're having these conversations when it wasn't even your fault. So I don't know. I feel like when drafts go that wrong, for specific individuals, I really want some context from the coaching staff because it was deplorable, and now people like me and Dash have to sit here and talk about how Licorice solo cost his team the game. It could not even be his fault.
Oh, it's a really good point.
So I come on, Golden Guardians coaching staff, who picked the Gragas on 4? Let me know. Maybe I'll ask you after the game if you lose.
There you go. Okay, so let's get back to trying to predict this one though, because
I'll stop ranting about their draft.
No, I love it, and I think that's a great. I think phenomenal context even for someone like myself who has more of a behind the scenes peek than most viewers, right? But about how to think about something like that, and really who should be held accountable, and again the fact that players, they take the brunt because they are the public facing people. So regardless of who made the decision, the reaction typically is first towards the players, and so Licorice hasn't been necessarily set up for success, it looks like so far. But who takes this game?
This is a tight
I'm gonna go Golden Guardians here. Didn't you go Golden Guardians against CLG?
Yeah, so I'm gonna go Golden Guardians again.
What, the 2-0 week?
I think they'll 2-0, yeah. And I think that they'll make it look decently easy. Because they're coming in 0-4, no expectations, everything's their bottom tier team. But they've been kind of grinding, and I feel like they know that they're right there. Yeah. And I feel like they just gotta get one. Yeah. And I feel like once this team gets one, it's gonna click a little bit for them. So I think they'll win day one, and I think because they win day one, they'll win day two.
Oh, interesting. Okay, I'm still sticking with my hard fought loss against CLG on day one. Yeah,
the 40-minute banger loss.
But I do think they get their first one here against Immortals. And I think a lot of it comes off of River and Gory.
Yeah,
I think a lot of it comes off of River and Gory. All right, there you have it. That's
dude. This is like I'm really excited for week 3 LCS.
I feel pumped, man.
I feel like week 2 was a little bit of a down for me because the game quality, we had a lot of smashes. Yeah, a lot of teams were blown out.
Well, also, go ahead.
No, but now this week we have compelling matchups against top team versus top team, and then right outside versus right outside, and then kind of bottom against bottom, but who's actually bottom? So there's parity in the matchups and there's tension. Yep. So there's drama.
Tension. That's the key word always. You need tension to be entertaining. Yeah, I mean, the parity argument as well is huge, right? For why there is tension between all of these teams and in these matchups. And then to your point, like I think one of the things too about last week is when a meta feels relatively stale, and then you also get disparate matchups. Oh God, that's so boring. You're seeing the same stuff picked every game, and you also know the result kind of ahead of time.
Right.
Even here, where we're still gonna have probably picked, images of that stale meta. At least I'm now seeing the FBI Vulcan bot lane against the Prince, and Winsome bot lane. I'm seeing the Prince and Winsome bot lane against Doublelift and Busio, and I'm like, actually, I don't care if we go. I don't care if we go to late game.
Pick whatever you want.
Team fight, AD carry meta now because I want to see which AD carry is better. So all of a sudden, I don't really care that the meta is where it is. Where if you asked me last week, I'd be like, I'm so sick of Zeri Lulu, and I'm sure I'll still be sick of it and want it to change after this week. But I'm going to enjoy it while I'm watching those two players, for example, go at it. So
it's sad that only one of them can play it. Wouldn't it be nice if both of them?
A little blind pick,
a little mirror match,
Zeri
Lulu.
No, I don't want to see that ever in my life. Anything else you want to discuss ahead of week 3?
No. I mean, these matchups are banger games. I have nothing on my agenda.
The only other thing I can think about is just as we had mentioned, or as we were just talking a little bit about meta, and we mentioned it earlier, like I am curious if at any point some LCS teams try to go the way of what we're seeing in the Eastern regions around, again, like top lane picks.
There's
where
like different, there's a lot of different things.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm just seeing games where it's a Jace Renekton matchup, and we've been nowhere close to that in the LCS.
Yeah, nowhere close.
And I just don't know how that warps everything else in the LCS when one player comes in. Like, maybe that's where Fudge will go. He'll hop off the Fiora and onto the Jace this week.
Now?
I think that's
Jace.
That's a spicy possibility right
I'm not
there.
picking NA Jace. Fudge is like, please.
I'm not saying he's going to win with it.
He's like, I'm not going to
saying,
pick Fiora. His team's like, thank fucking God.
Thank
He's
God.
like, I'm going to play
Jace.
And they're like, no!
I can see it. I can see it.
Shit. No, I mean, I guess I want to see the draft adaptations coming through from 100 Thieves. That's like the thing I'm excited about. Is I don't think that they're going to get the Zeri Lulu look for their games this weekend. And they're also against some good bot lanes. So let's see them tested more. And then after this week, we'll be through 3 weeks of LCS, and we can kind of like actually, hopefully, get a decent idea of who's who.
Yeah, maybe we can start looking at some player power rankings.
I think we can.
Like tier lists.
I think
as well.
after week 3, for me, everything is gonna have coalesced, and I think I have a really clear picture of who's good and who's not.
Sweet. So, some content ideas.
I'm excited for the end of this week, and also just for the games. The games are sick. Can we? Thursday. Yeah. Let's go.
Thursday, again, yes, that brings us to the conclusion of this episode of Last Hit. Thursday, watch party on my Twitch channel, so make sure you go follow it. Again, all links will be in the description, both to my info and Artemis's info. Like, comment, subscribe, please, on this YouTube channel or wherever you have found this podcast to help us reach more people as we kind of dive into this and, again, continue to get consistent with it. And then outside of that, hit us with any suggestions or feedback that you guys have. We're always looking for respectful feedback, but it can be critical. That's totally fine. We're all for critical feedback. Just please phrase it respectfully. But feedback on the podcast itself, what you'd like to see, ideas for future episodes, or questions that you have. We might start to plug in like a little Q&A.
That'd be fun.
Answer a couple questions at the end of each episode or something like that, depending on the questions that we get. So there you have it. Thank you again for tuning in for episode 2 of Last Hit, an LCS podcast, and we'll catch you next week. Until then, stay healthy, stay safe, and be good to each other. Peace out.